Hello, everybody. I am Heidi Esther, and welcome to your Joyfully Ever After. What is your Joyfully Ever After? A place where you can learn to put your guilt in a museum and ditch the people pleasing and move into putting your happiness first. I know putting your happiness first, that seems like so dangerous, but that's the real deal. That is how we get to feel great about ourselves and our lives. We don't feel guilt over taking care of ourselves and other people, and we empower others to do the same. Win-win. And speaking of empowerment, I have a fabulous, empowering guest with me today, Deb Cummins Stellato. Yay!
Yay! So excited to be with you, my friend.
A little bit about Deb. So she is a longtime friend. We were out of touch for a while, but we're back in touch, and she's a journey coach. She's a community builder, a podcaster, and a now published author. And I am so incredibly proud of you, Deb. So exciting. And so what Deb does is she inspires women to kind of like redefine what success means for them and like look at it from their own perspective and what brings them joy, and then gives them all these great tools to make changes and strategic changes and brave steps forward. She calls them pivots in their lives to get there. And she has a fabulous online presence also, which I am a part of, which has brave lionesses in there. And we'll talk more about that later when you are so inspired you want to join her community, and we'll give you all the tools to get there. All right. So Deb and I are going to kind of have just like a conversation and talk a little bit about our journeys, but also we are going to learn. I'm so excited to share a little bit about get Deb to talk about Elevate Your Voice, a book that's coming out that she is an author in. Yay. So welcome, Deb. I'm so delighted to have you here.
And I am so delighted to be with you, my friend. What a wonderful way to spend my Tuesday, to just be in your presence. And I'm so proud of you and all the work you've done, and your book, which we were just talking about before the show, which has just like filled my heart. Like reading it filled my heart with joy, and felt and just getting to feel like you were right here with me sharing these stories. Like if you have not read it, you need to read it, because it is just incredible and so in alignment with everything that I know about you and love about you.
Thank you, Deb. And I am just so delighted to be able to nab your book tomorrow and feel that I am on sharing a piece of your journey, your authentic, brave, messy learning experience of a journey that you share in the book. But I don't want to have too many spoilers today. So my questions are kind of not going to be like, tell me all about the story and everything that happened in it, because I want everyone who's listening to go pick up a copy, because it's going to change your life, and it's going to give you some really strong new besties to find in your life. So, all right. So I always start all of my shows with, so Deb, how are you, and how are you taking care of yourself today?
How am I? Well, what you will learn about me immediately is that I'm just gonna tell it as it is. So I am kind of like a knot ball. Like would be how I would describe myself. I'm like a little
Okay.
knot ball today. And that knot ballness comes from the fact that this book is launching tomorrow, and that the story obviously is deeply personal that I'm sharing. And coincidentally, not so much so, but I'm going to say it's coincidentally, I am having like raging pain in my neck. I had massive surgery in July. And yesterday, I like picked up the phone and called my physical therapist, which was my self-care, and was basically like, hey, can you fix me? And so my self-care is like, 100% knowing that this is going on and trying to figure out. It's kind of an interesting thing. Like chronic pain is a really interesting thing. And learning how to break the cycle of the pain is what I am working on self-care today. So, I'm like dressed up for you and wearing like a hideous little outfit the rest of me. And when I finish with you, I'm literally going to go lay down and watch some really
Mm.
horrible junk TV, and not be apologetic about it. So that's what I'm doing today to unknot the knot ball that I am.
That is so fantastic. I love that grace that you're giving yourself to say, "All right, today is," I mean, I'm wearing a for everyone who's can't see, I'm wearing a blanket on my bottom half. Well, there's clothes under that,
Yeah,
but,
there's clothes.
there's there's also a Winnie the Pooh blankie because it's chilly in my basement. Um, so I just wanna acknowledge that that is, dealing with chronic pain. That is not what your story is about, but that could easily be an entire other journey that you share about how you live with it and you work with it and you give yourself grace and find help.
Yeah, I think those things are key, and it's a very odd thing because it is nothing that anybody can see. And like if you were walking down the street or like in this conversation, people might be like, wow, she's like at a level 9 pain. She doesn't look like she's at a level 9 pain. And I think for, 10 years I have been on this particular journey. So it's a very much a consciousness thing. Like, okay, this is happening, and it's a life lesson, right? Sometimes you have to go
Mm,
backwards to go forward. So I have to give myself grace to go back to a place that I don't really want to be, to move ahead into a place where I'm feeling better, and it will calm down.
mm.
It's just like having a little ugly little monster living inside my neck. That's what she is. She's like a nasty little girl.
She's just saying, "You need to lay down,
Yeah,
and
she's
I
just
got you today."
Love Island. That's what she's saying.
Not the Love Boat, Love Island,
I love her. Love
different,
Island.
different,
Yeah.
different. Well, I am, let's see, while we're on heavy topics, I have been very happy with my new book success, and I have been very not able to also be proud of myself for it. And right now, I'm going on a writing journey that is taking a little more time out of my day. It's actually taking I've been writing my next book in the mornings. So about maybe a third to a halfway through my second book, and I'm stopping that to take care of this ongoing cycle that I have in my life that I can't be proud of myself. That I get disappointed with it not being like some kind of perfectionistic ideal maybe that I was housing in my brain that I didn't even know that I'm just dragging it along with me. And so I decided enough is enough, and I'm gonna walk through the journey, and maybe another book will come out of the thing. But I'm giving myself a little breathing room and some grace while I'm working on a course and figuring out how to move forward now that I'm already published. So just trying to, right? Just like I'm allowing myself to exhale.
And it sounds like you're allowing yourself some processing time. And for you, like, what a wonderful gift that you have that you can do some of that through that writing process. We all have different ways that we process, and it's a gift to all of us when you are processing that and sharing it in your writing. And that process in itself, that discipline of writing every day and journaling and maybe telling a story that you didn't intend to tell,
Yes.
right, is kind of an interesting shift in the way that we can get through hard things. We can do hard things, which it sounds like, yeah, giving yourself grace and reflecting and getting to getting to that core um, of what that gremlin is for you. I think sounds like some amazing work, and I know we'll all benefit from your
Thanks.
sharing of that story.
Thanks. And so you also have you been establishing a writing habit as well? Like obviously you had to have a writing habit for the book and coming up with your part in the book. But in general, I've heard you mention journaling a couple times. You want to share with me like what that process has been like for you in terms of like what you've learned from it and also like what kind of consistency you found? I don't know, I feel like I need 50 different starts to figure out what works for me.
Oh
So
my God. So I consistency has nothing to do with me. Like, that would be a complete lie if I said, "Oh, yes, I do this consistently." Um, that's one of the reasons I'm really excited that this book is happening because I'm a very good starter and a very crappy finisher. So that's one of the reasons I'm celebrating the book is that I actually did what I said I was gonna do. In terms of my writing process, I would say that, it's more like streams of consciousness that I use. Like I'll open a Google Doc and I'll be thinking about something that I want to share. And a lot of my writing is geared towards my community and the messages that I want to share there. And it's interesting because for me, I like to process things verbally more than no, I'm not going to say more, but I'm very good at processing things verbally. And so even with my business, there was a time where I was feeling like that I felt like an obligation to be writing about some things. And that's why I pivoted a little bit
Mm,
and started to do some of that on YouTube, like a weekly conversation about leadership, because I was feeling that it was too hard. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I just meant that it felt forced on the areas that I'm an expert. And so there's like your expert writer hat on, and then there's your journey hat writer. And so now I've been doing a lot of studying of like the artist's way and have recommitted to that process, that daily free form process
that's
that
yeah, that's big. And Deb, I want to honor that you felt that dissonance when you were moving towards something that wasn't completely, I would say, showcasing your peculiar genius as well, because we all love you and I think everyone has a peculiar genius, and I don't mean to say that like in any negative light. We all just have our own inner shiny. And so being able to say like, I need this writing and it's not going to look like other people's writing, and I'm going to go try this artist way. And if it doesn't work, that's going to be okay.
yeah,
And I'm going to take it. I'm going to take what I need and I'm going to leave the rest. I'm going to say I love you, Julia Cameron, and, take something and move on. So
100%. And I think that is just hugely important lesson. Like I am, little unknown fact about me, or maybe a known fact, I'm a little bit of a stationery addict. Um,
I didn't know that.
I love like, okay, I just love finding like the best piece of paper and the best pen
Ooh.
and the best, yeah. So I found this new stuff that I'm like really excited about. I've spent far too much money on this website because I'm like, oh, I love the way that this pen glides. And so now I bought another notebook from them to start that practice with again. And sometimes I just enjoy like the act of physically writing.
Mhm.
Um, so I'm excited about that. Should arrive like maybe tomorrow. I don't know.
I love that. I love that. You're actually grounding your senses in like a healing and a healing practice, the healing practice of writing and the inspirational practice of writing, and you're grounding your senses. A lot of times I will light incense in my house, not just because one of my dogs uses a litter box, but just because I really like incense. And and that helps ground me, and I will go to the fancy store in my town and buy this fancy incense because of that experience,
Yeah,
right? Like, part of it's just like, we need these practices in our life to, like, ground us into things that, it's kind of like a dual win-win, right? You get the journaling and you get the tactile grounding. grounding
Yeah.
from things. Like when you're able to sit outside and have a conversation with a friend, right? You get that connection, and then you get the nature, like the healing calmness of nature. It's like a win-win.
I
There
love
you
that.
go.
I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about grounding practices lately, and I'm not even like an earth element. I'm like a fire element in my sun and a water element in my like inside, which means I really relate to lava for some reason. That's why, like when I view myself as filling up with light and gold energy, it's all like this really fiery lava. Like, okay,
Like a
that's just
lava lamp? Like, should I be sending you like an enormous lava 70s lamp with like
oh,
peaks
I
and
mean, like, earth lava,
oh,
like,
like
that
earth lava. Got it.
like, kinda
Okay.
like Captain Marvel. Do you know Avengers? Like, Captain
Mhm.
Marvel, she's like the woman who like, a nuclear reactor in a plane, like, blew up, and she ingested all that and all this energy, and so she's, like, made of this, like, fiery molten craziness and can fly around the universe. Awesome.
I think I wanna meet her.
Yeah, Captain Marvel, she's like my woman.
Okay, I'm gonna
My
check her out.
Yeah, yeah. She has long hair sometimes and really badass like faux hawk sometimes. So I guess she just changes her mood, you know? She's
Love it.
righteous. Righteous. So all right, I want to move on to elevate your voice. All right, Deb. So can you tell me a little bit about this Elevate Your Voice project that culminated in this beautiful book? And can you tell me a little bit about like what is the mission of the book? Or even better yet, like what problem does this book solve? Like,
Oh my gosh, such a good
ah,
question. So, this opportunity, I'm gonna talk a little bit about the opportunity because I think
mm-hmm.
it's important. I think it's really important as women that we say yes and we trust our intuition and that we also, trust powerful women in our lives who say, like, who offer us a gift instead of looking at it as like somebody's trying to sell me something, to look at opportunities that other powerful women give us and say yes to those opportunities. So, just a little interesting tidbit about the process for me. I was actually recovering from this major surgery when I found out about this book opportunity. And I had been working with April Adams Pertwee, who coordinated this book. I'd been working with her for quite some time on my own storytelling. Because I was starting a podcast. And at that time, I didn't know where to start. I didn't know where to start my storytelling. And so this summer, when this email came across my desk, like my first response was, I'm going to curse. I was like, oh shit, I can't do this. Like I just had this massive surgery. I closed my business down for a month. I'm wearing like Frankenstein gear, lifting my head up.
Deb was still adorable,
Oh,
even in the neck
I'm
brace.
sure,
Just
like, yeah, we'll put that on to relive that loveliness,
ugh.
right? So, I literally couldn't turn my neck in any direction,
Mm.
and, but this came across my desk, and I was like, "Oh god, April, why are you doing this to me?" And I called her and said, like, "I got this. I have no idea if I can do this or not. Like, I don't know why it's calling me, and I don't know if I can do it. Physically, I don't know if I can do it." But I said yes because I trusted the process. And it's kind of like birthing a baby because we've been working on this for 9 months, right? Well, you know that it's sort of
Mhm.
like birthing a baby. Like
Yeah.
I'm
You have a book
birthing this
baby. You have a
one
book baby
tomorrow.
coming tomorrow.
But I have a lot of book mamas, and one of the other
Mm.
authors used that word, like, we're book mamas, and there are 14 of us that are book mamas that are delivering this book tomorrow. And I really believe in the power of community, and I do that with my own communities. So having the opportunity to write in community with these other women was a big deal. And so we went through a very extensive process figuring out what our story was going to be and working through the deadlines. And then we also were assigned an accountability partner, which I think is a lovely opportunity for any of us. And you and I have had that experience working with each other too. My accountability partner was somebody that I had known through another program, but I really loved her. And I thought, like, this would be wonderful to have this experience with her. And it was. And I love and adore Leanne. And You know Leanne, so you know why I love and adore Leanne.
Yes.
And then, I think like anybody in a writing process or a project process where you're doing something, there were ups and downs. And now all of a sudden, like there's this reality that this story is going out in the universe. And it's kind of amazing and kind of freaking me out a little bit. And yeah, like all of those things at the same time. And we're all spending the day tomorrow. We're all having our launch parties online together, just being in each other's presence as much as we can. I think to go back to your question, the problem that this book solves is, I mean, I love the title, Elevate Your Voice.
Mm.
And I think what is so powerful about this book is that there is a story in this book for every woman in every part of their life. And you might read a chapter and you might decide you want to put it aside and then come back to somebody else's chapter. And that's how I like to read. I like to, shocking, I'm not a person who starts at page 1 and then finishes the book. So I think this book allows you to like open it and say like, I'm almost meant to read this chapter today and I'm going to read it. And I think that there is such power in each story, so many takeaways in each story. And I think the book really allows us to share our journeys of courage. And since courage is my big word in what I do, how cool is it that this is a story that gives very specific examples of how women have been courageous in facing really hard things.
And that maybe we can do hard things.
Hashtag we can do hard things, for sure.
Pick up a chapter and read it and let it, like, I love how you're saying, kind of let the chapter wash over you and inside of you and, connect with the pieces of you that you might not be so proud of, that you might be struggling with. But then that there is someone right there, these 14 book mamas that are unveiling their little book baby, they're there to walk with you and let you know that you're not alone and it is going to be okay. And there is another side to these struggles and these moments of just great clarity or great challenge.
I love that. And I also think that, as women, one of the greatest things we can do is share that, give that gift forward to other women. And so, for me, as I was writing it and I was getting to know the other authors, what always comes up for me is like, I can't wait to send this book to other women, like depending on what their story is, because it's not just my story. It's these 13 other women's stories. And I think it's really cool to have a resource with all the women in my life to say like, yeah, this book would make a difference in their life right now, right in this moment. They could connect and benefit from reading what's on the other side of that pain, of the journey.
Yeah. There's a hug and a cape in this book for everyone.
I love that. I love that so much.
Yes. Oh, that is fantastic. I can't wait to order mine and review it as soon as possible. I know that's important as an author.
It is important. As a podcaster, as in everything. Yeah. We love your feedback.
Yes. And I didn't mention this before, but anyone who's watching the replay, feel free to let us know how you're taking care of yourself today. And any reactions or questions that you have about the book, I'm sure that I will get those over to Deb and she'll be able to answer them. Yay. All right. So in my recent book, I was able to define after I wrote it, I was able to see the process that I went through. And part of that process was dealing with my feelings. I'd never really been a good feelings dealer. I've just been a doer, or if I felt nervous about something, there was always a drawer to organize or a Diet Coke or a coffee to drink. So my book, my process that I went through helped me sit with my feelings and be able to define a process by which I was able to understand them, maybe not name them, but maybe just get them out, so that there was more room for me to feel other feelings that I was having, and that I wasn't, being this giant ball of human doing, the human
Mm,
doing, and part of um, your story is wrapped in a lot of different layers of feelings, and I was wondering if you learned anything, or after you had written it, anything about your feelings and your journey. Is there anything you learned about it now after you wrote it, like looking back on that other version of you at that time?
well, I think what I learn every day is that our emotions live when we are allow them to, they live really right at the surface. Like there's such a fine line between joy and sorrow. And I'll tell you a little story. I don't want to get emotional, but before this call, my daughter, who's just like the most remarkable human, right? Like the most remarkable human,
Mm.
sent me a text and she's like, there's something at your door you need to get. So I got up and went to the door, and my daughter and son in law and grand dog, Irv, always have to mention Irv, had sent me this beautiful bouquet of flowers. And it was like a celebration of the launch of the book. And so I opened them, and I think this is like where this feeling thing comes up. My chapter is like a chapter I did not want to write, and I think to myself, like, I'm sitting looking at these beautiful flowers, and my book is sitting next to them, and a picture of my mom and my daughter are sitting on my desk. And I wouldn't be here right now telling this story, or this is not the chapter I would have written had I not suffered this massive tragedy in my life. And I think that it's like living in a place where those things are, you can be both. You can be completely joyful and proud and like, I know my mom is so proud that I did this, and so I'm super joyful, and I'm super joyful that I can honor her in this way, and I'm super joyful that my daughter is the kind of human that knows that this matters to me. And I'm sad because my mom would be sending me flowers about a chapter that I would have written in this book. She was my biggest cheerleader.
Mm.
So it's like that weird, and I talk about in the book, this multi-generational 3 stars, my mom and my daughter and myself. So I think that that's, for me, emotions live at that confluence between all of the things, and that's okay. Like that's the human experience. Like I don't compartmentalize well. And so I know that that's what's going on for me, that it's just, like I said to you earlier, like this knot ball of emotion right now.
Well, I just wanna acknowledge that. Thank you for sharing that, and I love that in the brightest, in the ways that we shine the brightest, there is always a shadow somewhere.
Yep.
And so there's always going to be, there's always that yin and that yang, and it's all, I mean, yeah, I think you phrase it perfectly. Emotions are, if we are allowed to experience them as authentic humans, they're always right there. And so being able to ride that and feel as a human, and not get, and part of my struggle, I know, with emotions, when I started feeling them, I would get completely engulfed when I had first learned to open the door to them. I would cry for a lot of days at a time, um and so that, like, stuff like that will be in my next book, not just like acknowledging and moving past them as fast as possible to get to a conclusion, but
Right.
actually recognizing the validity of feeling the emotions at the time, and then eventually being able to say, this emotion is overwhelming and I'm going to feel it, and I'm going to care for myself while I'm in this state, and I'm going to move on, and I'm not going to let it become who I am. Like, I used to for a while I called myself a depressive, because I kept
Mm.
getting depressed. And so then for a while that became who I am. And so I no longer let the emotions, right? That joy and that sorrow it's such a strong part of the human experience if you're allowing yourself to feel it. And I know that the flowers came from your daughter, but I know that they also came from your mom.
Thank you. Yeah, and I think what you just said, I am so fortunate that I have the language around what's going on for me right now because of what I do as a coach. And I think that the fundamental question that comes up always in coaching is you get to choose how you show up, right? You get a choice. Like I'm very aware where I am on my energetic levels today. And I know that I can name it, I can claim it. I can say that like I know that our energy throughout the course of a day, throughout the course of a week, throughout our lifetime, it has these
Mhm.
fluctuations because that's what like we're made up. We're energetic humans, and those molecules are going and those hormones are going and all that stuff is going. And ultimately the question is like how is how is the choice that I make about where I show up energetically serving me? um
Oh, I love that. That's such an empowering
yeah, like
thought. Like how am I spending my energy, and is it in a way that is helpful to my growth? Like when I
yeah.
see people just get angry around my dinner table, which sometimes it happens because I have eye rolling teenagers, and we have rules. But it's just like I just see like there's an energy that spills out, right? And so it's like, how is your negative? How is all this anger? How is it helping you? How is it helping you? It's just exhausting you.
But
So
sometimes it
yeah,
serves you. Like, I think
you
sometimes,
need both.
you need both, and you need and that's part of the issue, right? And I'm pretty sure you and I connect on this. When you are perceived by other people as being the optimist and the funny one and the inspiring one and having all of those gifts, and then when in my world we call it like when some catabolic energy seeps in to your world, and it shows up in like maybe withdrawing from things or getting angry about things. Um, I think that the choice is like how long you want to stay in that catabolic energy versus moving that energy around.
I
But
love
I
that.
like
Yeah, being aware of it, being in the
it's
passenger
being
seat to it, saying,
aware,
"All
and I don't
right,
feel badly.
yeah."
Like, I don't feel badly that, like, your audience just saw me cry. Like, yeah, there's a part of me that's, like, has a little catabolic energy today based on my pain, based on some of that, and I know what it is. I'm aware of what it is, and, like, that concept that you said of depressive, when you start to, like, really understand how you show up energetically, the gift is that you can choose to move out of that more quickly. It doesn't mean that you
Yes.
like BS it. It doesn't mean like I'm putting a unicorn and sprinkles on it. It just means like, okay, like hello, thank you. I acknowledge you. I see you. I get you're part of this. And tomorrow I have something really huge to celebrate. And so I'm going to really be in a place of self care today so that I can just be with whatever else is going on with myself.
Yes, I totally resonate with that. And then you're gonna have to I really think that awareness is so much power.
Oh,
And when we're all brought up to have this awareness on all these external things, right? Our bodies, our studies, our family members and how to take care of them. We develop this like hyper awareness of all of these things, and then we don't look inside. But when we start looking inside is when we gain our power back. And I think, Deb, I mean, this is a whole book of women who have taken the power back and said, "This is no, this is I'm using my voice for my my power to claim my power to claim my story, so that I can heal and in turn let the world heal as well."
yeah, for sure.
So, oh, that is I love that. I love that. So, um, is there anything else you would like to share about your journey with Elevate Your Voice?
Um, I would just say that, I've become much more aware of how the universe, like how tricky the universe is. The first draft of this book was my chapter was due on the anniversary of my mom's passing. And I'm going to say that that was like a really hard day. Um, but my chapter is really about, um, it's called Live and Grieve with Courage. And it's really about like how we can create sacred spaces for healing. And so I have found like a physical place where that has happened for me and showed up for me at three different parts of my journey. And that's what my chapter really is about. But also, I think the other part that's been so powerful is like our relationships with people in our life, whether they're here or whether they are not here, can change in like these really profound ways. And so when I learned that lesson through writing about it and through kind of exploring that concept, that gave me a lot of peace and comfort. And has been a that has been really important in my own grief journey.
Mm.
So yeah, I would say that like this was a hard thing. And a couple weeks ago, somebody was I'm in, I really believe that coaches should always have a coach. So I really always invest in coaching. And I'm doing a new program right now. And I was talking to this woman and telling her about the book. And she was like, okay, so what's your next book? And I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? I'm not writing anything else. And she's like, no. She's like, you totally have like your own book inside of you. And you need to get going on it. And I was like, oh, no,
Universe.
no, I can't. And I'm just letting it, I'm like
Oh.
right now, right? Like I don't want the pressure of that right now, but I want to be open to the experience of what that could be.
Oh, I love that. Deb, I can see a book or a page a day calendar maybe that has an inspiring message from you, like a little 1 to 2 sentence on each page. So
I
it's
like that.
just
Love
like
that.
it's bright and snappy and profound and sometimes hilarious, and maybe pictures of your dogs are in there. Who knows?
I
Um,
love that. I love
so
that. That might be something
so
okay, it's in
I
there.
think you already have those. You already have the knowledge that you share with all of everyone that you help in your coaching business, and I'm sure they could also share lessons they've learned from you that you would be able to use. But that is just
Love that. Okay, I'm on it.
it
That
doesn't have
was
to look a certain way.
I'm gonna just let it float into my universe. I kind of love that though.
Great. Great. Yes. I don't know, it just came to me, so I just want to acknowledge it. All right, so I put a link to Deb's book in the chat, and I will also have it available in the pod when this pops out next week. All right, we are going to move forward with what I like to call the snowman of affirmation.
All right, let's do it.
Okay, I don't even think I didn't have a little banner made for him. All right, Deb, do you have a color you'd like? I have pink, orange, green,
I'm,
and yellow.
I'm gonna go with orange today because orange is a healing color. Not sure if you know that, but it is.
Oh. Orange is one of my colors. I'm wearing it today.
Love it.
All right, Deb. All right, this is your affirmation for today.
I'm ready.
I surround myself with people who love, honor, and support
Oh
me.
my God, how amazing is that? Like, I just want to say, like, I love that so much. So on point. Thank you.
Ah.
Thank you for that. Thank you, Mr. Snowman.
Yeah, it used to be a bowl of affirmation, but he grew up into a snowman.
Love him.
Okay. I'm gonna go green because green is the heart chakra, and I think that's where I live most of my life. Um, oh, I need to think about this one. I choose to be happy instead of right.
Oh,
Shazam! But I did pick a tarot card this morning,
oh gosh. Okay.
and because I had some big emotions yesterday, and I was like, where are all these emotions coming from? And I have been a recovering codependent for 9 years now. So in 9 years, I've been in a 12-step program to unattach from other people's feelings and to listen inside. And I pulled the addict card, which so that would be I'm addicted to other people's approval of me, right? So I'm a
Mm,
recovering people pleaser. And so this is right in line. This affirmation, I choose to be happy instead of right, is right in line with that. So
I love that one actually.
yeah.
Why I became a coach and gave up some other things in my life because it feels really freaking good to not be the expert in the room.
And to always be, I like to call it, it's going to be an exercise coming up in one of my little workshops. I call it practice shoes. So it's about ditching the good and bad labels,
Mm,
just
love that.
ditching, just ditching it all and putting on your practice hiking boots and just going off road and finding your happy instead of what you think is right. You don't need the dress shoes with the 8-inch heels. You don't, unless you love them, and then those are your life is, my badass practice shoes is stiletto.
Love that. Love that. Oh,
Yay.
so good.
All right. So, Deb's book, Elevate Your Voice, is available on Amazon. You can actually just search on Google, like Elevate Your Voice book, and it will pop up. I did that today, and it was fabulous. Even a picture of the book came up, which is cool. And what is the best way for my community to connect with your badass self, Deb?
Well, you can go to my website, which is you can find at the Think Good Company. And I really also would love to welcome and embrace and love up your people in your community in the Think Courageously community on Facebook. There's a lot of badass women, but uh, they are lionesses, and as you've experienced, I do book clubs with them. We just had a really amazing book club last night talking about Atlas of the Heart. We do some different kinds of opportunities, but hopefully it is also a really my goal in life is to create safe spaces where women can practice thinking courageously, thinking differently, thinking good, and where they can grow their belief in themselves. So jump in to the community. It'll say that you'll need approval from me, but jump in and I'll give you that approval. I can't wait to see you in that group. Oh, and finally, I have a podcast called the Think Courageously podcast. Heidi was actually a guest on my show. I've interviewed over 75 women who have decided that they want to share their story of thinking courageously. And again, it's like a potpourri of stories. Like there's a story for everybody, just like this book. There's like something for everybody in the storytelling that happens on the podcast.
The
So,
podcast is a beautiful space where weekly you can get a new friend and a new perspective
yeah,
on the different ways to move forward through all the messy, beautiful that accompanies career and from like physical disabilities to marriages and relationships to blazing career trails. There is something for everyone on that
something for
podcast, and
everyone.
I enjoy it. And that was the first interview that I did online
That was
was
great.
was
Yeah.
with
Oh
Deb.
my God. It
So
was
and now
so
the
good.
tables are turned.
Yes, they are. And I just want to thank you for the love and support you've given me through this process and through like building this business of mine.
Oh, I wouldn't miss it, and I can't wait to see what is next for you, Deb.
Thank you,
So
Heidi.
so everyone, I will put the links in all the right places so that you can find her, and I am also in the Facebook community, so I would love to see you there as well. All right. So the only announcement is tomorrow I am live with Heather and we are chatting about creating lasting happiness. I know. Is it a red herring? Is it possible? We're going to debunk some myths and do some nitty gritty work on how to get that in your life. So, Deb, thank you absolutely so much for sharing space and your amazing, beautiful, not knotted light today, which I would say is just as fantastic as ever. And I'm so incredibly proud and excited for you. And everyone, please go get this book and buy a copy to share with your friends.
Thank you, Heidi. Thank you so much for having me. Bye.